So as I was saying, this is really just focused on self-care, kind of taking care of ourselves in this weird, wacky time during COVID-19. I think for a lot of us, this is a kind of an anxiety-provoking, confusing. I'm going to try not to use the word unprecedented because it's used a lot, but just a really stressful time. And I think as kind of people who are in caregiving roles, it can be hard to remember to take care of yourself. And so two things before we get started. If you want to add, if you have questions, feel free to use the chat function for that. And then at the end, we can also take questions if anybody has any. Kind of the first thing that I wanted to talk about is what is self-care? So like, how are we defining this? I think self-care has been used a lot as kind of like a buzz term. And I think a lot of us think of it as almost like an indulgence. But I thought the University at Buffalo School of Social Work had a really good definition. So they define self-care as something, it refers to activities and practices that we can engage in on a regular basis to reduce stress and maintain and enhance our short and longer term health and well-being. And self-care is necessary for your effectiveness and success in honoring your professional and personal commitments. And I really like that part of the definition in particular because, again, I think a lot of us think of self-care as almost this luxury that we will get to when we have time for it. So after everything else is done, then we can do things that are good for us. And the way that this is defined, it really kind of highlights the fact that self-care is essential. It's something that we need to be doing to be effective, both at work and at home. And so what are the goals of self-care? What are some of the things that we should be focusing on when we're talking about self-care? Because it's not just about limiting or addressing our professional stressors, it's really about enhancing overall well-being. And so there are a lot of folks who have defined self-care, but common to most of those is things that our goals in terms of self-care should be taking care of our physical and psychological health, managing and reducing stress, honoring our emotional and spiritual needs, fostering and sustaining relationships. And that one, I think, in particular has gotten trickier as, a lot of the ways that we connect with other people have changed recently over the past couple of months, as things have closed down or we don't have access to just a lot of the things that allow us to connect with other people. So I think that's an important one to highlight. And then achieving an equilibrium or balance across your personal and your work life. And that's, I think, always a struggle, but something that we should kind of be setting as a goal for ourselves. And kind of, I've already alluded to this, but self-care is important now more than I think it's ever been. The CDC actually talks about what stress during an infectious disease outbreak can include. And they talk about things like fear and worry about your own health and the health of the people that you love, changes in sleeping or eating patterns. I know for me, I'm definitely not eating, kind of my balanced meals that I strive for in kind of real life. And I've been eating different types of foods than I typically would. I would also say that my sleep patterns have changed a little bit. I think some days I feel more tired than I normally do. Difficulty sleeping or concentrating. So, I think among this group that kind of put this presentation together, we've talked about having days where we sort of feel like we're not able to focus as much as we normally would. Concentrating is difficult. Worsening of chronic health problems, worsening of mental health conditions. I think certainly things like anxiety and depression that might already be kind of underlying or worsened by kind of all the confusion and the unknowns and not being able to do the things that you like to do, not being able to do the things that you typically do, and then increased use of things like alcohol, tobacco, and other drugs. So again, that's just kind of what the CDC has noted as what stress can look like during an infectious disease outbreak. So, okay, so we know that we should be taking care of ourselves, and we know that, especially during COVID-19, we should be doing certain things. So what does that look like? How can we kind of get there? So again, the University at Buffalo School of Social Work, and there's a link to the assessment that I'm going to talk about right now. They actually have a couple of good ways that you can assess your own self-care practices. So I'm going to talk about two of them because they think about self-care in slightly different ways. The first one is just kind of global self-care, and the second one focuses a little bit more on what they call mindful self-care. But essentially, the assessment breaks down self-care into a number of different areas. So things like physical self-care, psychological self-care, emotional self-care, spiritual self-care, relationship self-care, workplace or professional self-care, and then other areas that might just be important to you. And then they also have a way that you can kind of look at your overall balance. And what I like about self-care assessments just in general is that they're great ways to sort of see which areas you're kind of doing well in. Maybe you're getting in your physical exercise all the time. Maybe you're really knocking it out of the park when it comes to your professional self-care. But maybe there are other areas that either haven't occurred to you, or as you're filling out the assessment, you're noticing maybe they could use a little bit more attention. And so to give you an idea of what this particular self-care assessment looks like, I've included some example items. So essentially, it asks you, how often do you do the following things? So this one asks, how often are you eating healthily? How often are you taking time off from work when you're sick? Are you taking time for self-reflection? Are you reading literature that's not related to work? Are you staying in contact with the people who are important to you? Are you finding things that make you laugh? Are you spending time in nature? Are you making time for reflection? Are you doing things, or are you letting people help you, essentially? Are you making time to see friends? And are you taking a break during the workday? And if you'll notice, I kind of included the areas where all of those questions kind of come from. And so that's our first self-care assessment. The second one, as I mentioned, and it's available at the link below, and we can send out the links later. But so the second self-care assessment really talks through there's more focus on kind of mindfulness. So they look at self-care in terms of mindful relaxation, physical self-care, self-compassion and purpose. That's an area that I think is really particularly important right now. Self-compassion, kind of being kind to yourself, giving yourself grace for when things are hard, supportive relationships, supportive structure, and then mindful awareness. So again, from that assessment, I've included some example items. So again, you're going to rate the frequency of your behavior, looking through some of these different areas. So this one asks, did I do something creative to relax? Did I seek out images? So things like film or art, even nature. Have I exercised at least 30 to 60 minutes? Have I practiced yoga or another mind-body practice? Am I acknowledging my own challenges and difficulties? And again, that's that self-compassion area that I think can be challenging, but also is really important, when things are kind of upside down, is to just be kind to yourself. Did I give myself permission to feel my feelings? I think a lot of us are having a lot of feelings these days, around, feeling anxious, feeling sad, even grieving for the things that we're not able to do because we're kind of stuck at home. Did I spend time with people who are good to me? Did I keep my work area organized to support my work tasks? This one got me a little bit because since I'm currently working from my house, one of the things that I noticed recently is that I've been sitting in a really uncomfortable chair. So I needed to switch that up in order to take care of myself. Am I having a calm awareness of my thoughts? And have I had a calm awareness of my feelings? And again, those questions, I sort of listed the different areas that they kind of map onto. So once you've kind of looked at your self-care assessment results, what I really like is that, again, the university at Buffalo School of Social Work has provided a way that you can actually create a self-care plan for yourself. And so the self-care plan maps more onto the first self-care assessment that I went through. It kind of goes through those areas that I mentioned, but you could certainly take it and adjust it for whatever areas are kind of important to you or what you've found based on whichever self-care assessment you choose. So as you can see, it kind of goes through, okay, mind, body, emotions, and spirit, and it looks at what do you currently have in place? Maybe you don't have anything in place, and what's a new practice that you would like to try? And so it goes through the other areas of the self-assessment as well. But what I really like about the self-care plan is that there is a section to kind of identify some barriers that you might have in terms of what your self-care strategies are, how you're going to address those barriers. And then it also asks you to list some negative coping strategies. So things that you'd like to be doing less or not at all, and to offer yourself some ideas of what you could do instead. So I think whether we like to admit it or not, we all have kind of negative coping strategies that we sometimes use. So I just like that the way that this self-care plan is set up, it really allows you to kind of reflect on where you might run into difficulty. And so just as an example, here's kind of how I set my self-care plan up. So again, it kind of looks at those different areas and allows you to take information from your self-care assessment and to plop some of these things in. So for example, for me, I wasn't really doing anything not that I wasn't doing anything, but there was room for improvement in terms of my mind. And so I have found that I've had a little bit more time to do things at home since we've been told to stay at home. So my new practice is that I would like to read one non-workbook every 2 weeks. So in terms of my body self-care plan, I had a practice in place, but that's not working anymore because it's just not available to me. So I'm also designing this as like, what are some things that I may have been doing previously prior to all of the limitations on where we can go and what we can do. And so what can I do instead? So I had been going to the gym, or I at least set the intention to go to the gym 3 times a week. So my new practice is that I'm going to walk outside every day for 60 minutes. In terms of relationships, something that I had found that I was pretty good at was setting time aside to spend time with my friends, at least an evening per week. Since I'm not allowed to go to the places where I usually saw my friends and we're not allowed to gather anymore, my new practice is that I'm scheduling at least 2 either Zoom calls or FaceTime calls, or there are other apps that you can use just to connect with my friends that way. And I've decided to do that twice a week. And then finally, in terms of spirit, that was an area that I could use some work in. So I decided that because it's so easy to focus on what's not going well in the world right now and what is stressful and what is bothering me, I set aside some time every day to practice gratitude, because there are always things that we can be thankful for and things that we can reflect on and feel more positive about. So that's something that I have worked into my self-care plan kind of moving forward. So as I mentioned, I might get into some snafus with my self-care plan. So some things that I can do, or some things that I can anticipate, are that, okay, so I've set this intention to walk outside every day, but at least where I am today, it is a nasty rainy day. So I don't want to go for a walk. I'm not going to go for a walk today. And that's okay. I just need to plan for that. So my plan is I'm going to work out indoors. So there are tons of online workouts that are available for free these days. I just, on Sunday, I think I did an online yoga class, which was great. There are also different like dance party opportunities. If you log into social media, there are folks hosting dance parties on, like I said, on social media, like on Instagram. So I can use that instead of my walk outside. And then in terms of my negative coping strategies, I have definitely been, I've sort of alluded to this before, but I've definitely been doing some stress eating. So I'm eating things that don't have a ton of nutritional value. And I really like to bake. It's a stress reducer for me. So that's a great strategy for reducing stress, but then I end up with all these baked goods. Again, that's fine, but I don't want to be doing that all the time. So I've decided that I'm going to look at kind of more healthy ways, healthy things that I can do that I enjoy making and enjoy eating, but are probably better for me. And then I've also come up with, okay, so how else can I manage my stress instead of just eating my feelings? So I'm going to exercise. I've already made a plan for that. I'm going to talk with my friends, and I'm going to try journaling. So that's just kind of how the self-care plan works. That's just an example. It's really flexible. You can kind of do whatever works for you and focus on the areas, like, as I mentioned, that you kind of get from those self-care assessments. And so kind of the last thing in this section is, all right, so you've listened to me talk about creating a self-care plan, doing a self-care assessment. like, is that really realistic? Am I really gonna do these things? And as much as it's important to kind of set yourself up for success when it comes to self-care, we also need to let ourselves off the hook, because again, this is just a confusing, weird time. And so, I think it's great to set goals, but it's really not the end of the world if we don't get to everything that we want to get to. And, we have off days. Like I was mentioning, I think to this group when we were originally talking about this presentation, that there are days where I might sit on the couch and watch TV more than I normally would. And that's okay. So I really liked this quote from Forbes.com, where they basically say, so this might be the most important thing to keep in mind. Don't beat yourself up when things are not going perfectly in your household. On top of everything else, being upset with yourself is totally counterproductive. If the kids want to watch too much Netflix or play too many hours of video games, it's not the end of the world. Things are going to be hairy for a while, and if you can't stick to your schedule or fit in your at-home workout every day, it's really not such a big deal in the long run. It's much more valuable to everyone to cut yourself some slack, use the time to reflect on the important things, and try to keep a sense of we're all in this together at the forefront. So kind of the next part of our presentation, Michelle is going to go through some resources and some ways that you can access some of these self-care strategies. So I am going to stop sharing my screen, and I'm going to let Michelle take over from here.
Okay, thanks, Lisa. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen. All right. So, like Lisa said, I'm going to go through some self-care resources. There are a couple of different apps and websites that you can access. So the first one that I'm going to go through is called IPPI. So IPPI is can be accessed through a website or an app, and you can actually go to this website, cigna.happify.com, and you can you won't get the premium, but if you sign up for a free account at IPPI, you can get that. These screenshots here that I showed you are just from the website, but I'm actually going to go through some screen recordings just to show you guys what the app might look like on the next slide. So I recorded my screen, and I'm going to show you how to access it once you've downloaded it. So as you can see, you click on it, and obviously you'd be a new member, so you can just click that bottom link there. This would pop up for you, and it just goes over what IPPI does and the different areas that you might be able to focus on. So you would click on Get Started, and it will ask you a couple of different questions to kind of tailor your experience. So your gender, your age, and you can it will kind of take those experiences and where you are at in your life and tailor your IPPI experience. So it asks you if you're employed, if you're a student, self-employed, and then it will go into a series of questions like this one. And then, like I said, it will use that information to help build that experience for you. So this next recording here kind of shows you that you can go into private mode or community mode. Community mode would be sharing it with others. Private mode is just for yourself. I clicked on community mode. And then it asks you, it gives you a track that's recommended for you. So conquer your negative thinking. Or you can look at different ones too. Or you can look at our full list of tracks. So once you click on that, one of the tracks, it just goes through how IPPI works. And it gives you a little bit of an overview of what you're going to be doing and what areas that it will work on, and the general gist of the different skills that you might build when you use IPPI, which I think is really great. It kind of allows a general sense of what experience you're going to be getting from IPPI. So it does this little overview, and then it shows some statistics of other users that have used it in the past, which I think is really nice. And obviously they have a great results from using this app. So once you click on that, your track, it will pop up for you. So this is managing stress in uncertain times, which I think is pretty relevant to where we are at right now. And it gives you a little bit of an overview. There are different evidence-based modalities that are used, and you can start your track. This is what it would look like to start your track. You can get reminders to do your track every day. And it will give you different activities. So you can see there's 2 activities, your silver lining and serenity scene. So I clicked on the different activities and they pop up there. So I chose your silver lining. And these are different activities that you can do through IPPI. So each track has different activities, different recordings that you can do and listen to. And so I thought it was just neat to kind of show you guys what the task kind of looks like. So this is your silver lining. You can say, this is, today I'm grateful for, so I wrote my family and my job. And it will track your answers. It will kind of track that you've done this activity, which is a step in the right direction. And it'll ask you how much you enjoyed it, and if you want others in the community to kind of see your experience. And you click IPPI it, and it will post to the community, which is really cool. And those kind of, you have different skills that, like they said in the beginning, that will count towards the different skills that you are working on in IPPI. So the next app and website that I'm going to go through is Sanvello. Sanvello has various coping tools and peer supports. It's pretty similar to IPPI, but just the interface is a little bit different. You do get free access during COVID-19, and these screenshots are actually showing the website. Like I said, you can use the website or an app, but I'm actually going to do something similar that I did for IPPI and just show you guys what the app will look like for Sanvello. So as you can see, it's on my screen and I click on it and it will ask me to get started, or if you have an account, you can log in. So I clicked on get started. And then you can choose your theme. I chose a tropical theme because that makes me happy. But you're just tailoring your experience in using this app. So then it asks you what your different goals are. Again, to tailor your experience. Mine were feel happier, decrease anxiety, and think positively. And then it will choose different tracks, different activities that will meet those expectations. You can focus on it different times during the day, so it will send you reminders when you want to do these kind of activities, and it will ask you, would you like it to send you notifications? And it does. It will. There's a little notification that pops up. How are you feeling? And you can kind of log it in throughout the day, throughout the evening, whatever you choose. This asks you if you are working with a mental health professional. So it can kind of log your experience with a therapist or a mental health professional if your mental health professional has that. And then it will ask you to sign up. So email, password, pretty simple. The next video kind of shows what the app will look like once you have everything set up. It does ask for a check-in when you log in. So I will click on that. And you can kind of start how you've been feeling the past week. It will ask you a series of 21 questions just about your different emotions and what you've been experiencing. Again, this is just to help you tailor that experience. So these are 2 other just quick videos on what Sanvello looks like. So I showed you the check-in, but if I skip that function, this is kind of what the home screen will look like. So there's a track at the top you can do. It shows how you've been feeling throughout the week. Different Q&A sessions, you can take a tour, but I wanted to highlight, if you're not sure what to do, you can click on Get Suggestions, and it'll ask you how you're feeling. So you could add that in. And if you're not feeling great, it will, if you scroll back down to that same area, it will give you suggested tracks to listen to and suggested activities. So this is what deep breathing would look like. You can tailor it, what soundscape you want. And this is how it would start. It shows you a little intro on breathing and how you would do that throughout this activity, which is really nice. It gives you a little bit of an overview of how to start this activity and what that might look like. So after the overview, after you've read through some of these instructions on this deep breathing, then it would start. And you can follow along with this activity. So this is really neat because it's guiding you through this experience. You know, it's easy to say that we know how to deep breathe, but if we can be guided through, that's pretty helpful. So this next video here, again, I just wanted to show you another component of Sandvelo. You can kind of track your mood throughout the week. So you can track it several times during the day. And like I showed you before, this is just checking in and adding a mood entry throughout the week. Like I said, I have 2 there, and it kind of will show you what you've done throughout the week in different tracks. So I clicked on that track that I had already started, and this is just giving me an overview of what the track is kind of going to look like and a little bit more information about that track. So after I read that through, you can get started in your track, and this is an overview of what it would look like. So there's different things that you can do throughout these sessions and tracks, and I clicked on Get Started. And again, it will give you a little bit of an overview of what you can do throughout this instruction. So it's really nice because there's different areas that you can focus on, and it's again tailored to your experience and what you're looking at to gain through these difficult times. So that's an overview of Sandvelo. The next one I wanted to focus on was 10% Happier. I do have a link in this PowerPoint that you can get 6 months of free access as a healthcare provider. Again, it is, I believe 10% Happier you can do through an app. So I'm just going to show you guys what that looks like through the app. So I'm not going to go through how to sign up for this one. This is just kind of because I did it through the website, but this is what it would look like once you've put it on your phone and you've kind of gone through the sign up process. And this is kind of what your home screen looks like. It gives you different courses, basic courses. It has live courses, and they're just focusing on different topics. Whatever you kind of are looking for with this app, you can find. Now they also have singles, single tracks, not courses. So there's different topics such as coronavirus sanity, which is pretty pertinent right now. They do have for crisis responders different tracks that you can listen to with different topics. I clicked on Don't Take on Other Stress.
Hi, this is Jeff. Have you noticed how being around stressed people can itself be kind of...
And that's what that would look like. So that's about 10 minutes, and you can listen to it depending on what you're looking for, that could be a track that speaks to you. So just a little bit more of an overview of this app. There are sleep tracks that you can listen to. They range from 5 to 30 minutes, 10 to 15, and different areas: falling asleep, winding down for sleep, different single tracks that you can listen to that might help with those kinds of areas. I clicked on how to fall asleep, and this is what it sounds like.
Hi, I'm Jeff. The body knows how to fall asleep, but sometimes the mind gets in the way. This happens to me all the time. It's like
So that's what that would sound like. Now, there are different talks as well that you can listen to. They're short little talks, but again, different topics that might speak to you. So I clicked on coping with uncertainty.
Over the last month, life has revealed to us a deep truth, the truth of uncertainty. This is the reality of life. It's what's always been true. Everything is.
So that's what that would sound like. You can also look at your profile of what you've done, how many total sessions, minutes. You can see what your progress has been like. But what I thought was cool was you could kind of get guidance from a meditation coach. So you can get suggestions, you can start a conversation, and type in something right there to talk to someone, which I thought was a really neat aspect of this app. Okay, so the next resource I wanted to show you was targeting mindfulness. Now, this is not an app, so what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna show you the website very quickly, but it's called mindfulexercises.com. And there is free online access to mindful exercises. So this is what it would look like when you first come to the website. And as you can see, there's a plethora of different things that you can do. So there's courses, there's different audios, different worksheets. So I'll just show you what the courses might look like. You can click up here for free, and there's a lot of different courses that you can listen to at your leisure. So if you click on one, this is what it would look like. They give a little bit of an intro, and then you can start the course. And it shows you kind of what the breakdown would be. So what is mindfulness? And you can go through these different areas. So that's a really neat website. There's a lot that you can access here. There is a community as well. So you can post a forum, you can respond, which is really nice. Okay, so, and the last app that I'm going to show you guys is Headspace. Again, this is an app or a website. There is free content for educators during this time. So I'm just going to show you guys kind of what that looks like. So this is, again, what the interface will look like once you've downloaded it, and what the home page kind of looks like. So it has different areas. You can look at the community, you can look at maybe a course that you started here. And then I'm just going to show you a really neat thing that I saw the other day on here. So you have your community, you have a course that you started, and then you also have recommendations for what, tailoring your experience, which is really nice based on what you've put in. And there's also everybody Headspace. So there's a group meditation that starts at a certain time every day, and you can have it remind you, which I thought was really cool. And I did it, and there's a lot of different people logged in. Now there's a sleep tab, which like the other apps kind of targets sleep, obviously. You can click on different areas. I clicked on soundscapes to help fall asleep. And this is kind of what it will sound like. So that's a nice relaxing sound. There's a lot of different soundscapes, a lot of different areas in that sleep category. Now there's a move tab, which is exercise based. A lot of different areas that you can focus on: mindful cardio, quick workouts. So Get Moving with Kim, I decided to click on, and she has different weeks, different days. So this is what that would look like. It's gonna shift a different direction, but I just wanted to show you guys what that might look like.
Hi, I'm Kim, and welcome to this Headspace Move course. The physical movements in this course will focus on mobility, stability, and strength. But because this is Headspace, we do things a little differently. At the beginning of every workout, we're going to set our intention. That intention is always the
So that's what that looks like. It's really nice that they have different move-based exercises. So I thought that that was a really neat function of Headspace. Now, this last video here just shows the other areas of Headspace. You can click on the Explore tab and just find what suits you, what you want to focus on. So I clicked on Reframe, Stress, and Relax. There's different meditation courses that you can take and listen to. So I clicked on Managing Anxiety. And you can begin the course. As you can see, there's 10 different levels, and this is what that would look like. So this one focuses on a specific technique, and it kind of guides you through that, which is nice. So this is just a little bit of an intro. You can click on that video.
Sometimes when we're meditating,
And that just is a little bit of an intro again to what you're about to experience. So I thought that was nice to give a little bit of an introduction to what you're about to do.
welcome to Headspace on Anxiety. Now, this particular exercise and technique builds very much on the foundation technique that you would have learned. So it's really important that you've learned that in full and that you feel comfortable and confident in applying that technique.
And that's what that would look like. So it's very similar to some of the other apps, but this offers different areas that you can target, such as Move, the sleep casts. So I think each one kind of offers a different area that you want to focus on. So the other two areas, like Lisa was saying, we have different areas kind of that we want to focus on during this time. And exercise is one of them. So I wanted to just show you guys two websites that are offering free classes during this time. The first one is Core Power Yoga, and the next one is Orange Theory Fitness. So I'll show you guys what that looks like. Core Power Yoga is offering these free classes down here. There's just different areas that you can focus on. And these select videos here are all free. Now, Orange Theory Fitness is actually a gym that is usually over a couple $100 a month. But at this time, they are offering free access to YouTube workouts. So they upload one every single day. They are high intensity interval training workouts, and they do, they have resources that you can use at home in your workouts, such as using tomato cans for weights. So that's a really neat resource. Okay. And then the last resource that I just wanted to share, this is specific to Connecticut, and it was launched on April 15th. It's called Talk It Out CT. If you are in a different state, I would look into if your states are offering a similar resource, but this is basically a line that you can call. You will be, it's directed for parents and caregivers who just need someone to talk to and understand perhaps supply strategies for help during this time. So if you call that line, you will be directed to an intake coordinator. They will take some information such as your name, your location, and then you'll be connected with a clinician. And that clinician can, like I said, be someone that you want to talk to or perhaps provide strategies for your child. And we just wanted to end today with this quote. I think at this time, like Lisa had said, it's really important that when we are taking care of others, that we want to take care of ourselves as well and make sure that we're doing that. So the quote says, because no matter the challenges we confront, there is no escaping this reality, no matter what others or we try to say about it. If we don't care for ourselves, we'll be limited in how we can care for others. It is that simple. And it is that important for you, for others, and for our planet. And that is it for our presentation today.